This is AI Marketing Experts, where bold marketers and next-gen AI collide. Each week, join us as we decode trends, test tools, and share real wins from the AI-powered front lines. No fluff, no hype, just straight talk and smarter marketing. Tap subscribe, and let's geek out on AI.
Hey everybody, good afternoon from the AI Marketing Experts. Our friends and experts here are super stoked to be on our newest episode and really dig in deep to what we call the rise of the agent army. Because as you know, we talk every week about AI and marketing and how it can boost your business and the latest and greatest and what's going on out there. Because as we know, it's a roller coaster. It is an amazingly fast phenomenon that we've never seen before when it comes to AI in general, and then how that all fits into the marketing world for businesses. And so, I mean, I think that I'm personally blown away just at the sheer speed of it, because I know for me, it can be a challenge to even keep up with it. So I'm always glad to jump on with my associates here, because they know things that I don't know, and sometimes at a super high level that I don't know, because it can be mind-boggling what you can do with some of the latest and greatest tools. We're going to share what we got today, and then I know that we have some other things we can share that aren't just on the show, where you can tune into some even more in-depth things in our AI Marketing Experts website, our groups, and some of those things. So I know that'll be covered as well. Who'd like to kind of jump in and share some of the things we were talking about earlier today?
Well, I'm going to start today. And I know in our past episodes, we've had the pleasure of introducing how to move the needle from point A to point B with very simplified tasks. Obviously, we've reviewed several different systems, several different platforms that can help many small business owners really feel like they have accomplished more than what they might have in the past, because they're able to use AI as that tool. Again, human in the loop. But the one thing about this group here is we really focus on strong foundations, because we realize that something new is always going to be coming out. So as we build on this episode and go really into some things that are amazing, just amazing when we're talking about these agents, also take the time to reflect on what task have you already accomplished with AI, and what do you find yourself opening up this tab for that, because you're jumping between, because you want a better writer here, you want a better platform for this. Today, we're going to give you some different options as to if you have agents, how, now that you've tackled that and you have a strong foundation, how can you build systems? So I know that our viewers, our listeners are doing an amazing job. We just want to help them continue on with this journey.
You laid it out really well, Laura.
So what I'll give you guys is a little bit of a for the audience and everybody. How did we get to agents that were sort of a pipe dream? You know, the old days 3 months ago, AI, the olden days, horse and buggy days 3 months ago, and how did we get here now? And there's a bunch of things that have dovetailed to this. One of them is the fact that AI is getting cheaper. So it doesn't feel like it to us, because we just keep spending more and more money, right, Chris? Like all of a sudden you got a context window problem. But what has happened is the cost per token. So we talked a little bit about token math recently, and tokens are the currency of AI. So tokens have gotten like 383% cheaper than when they started, or whatever it was, three years ago. A lot of the context windows. So how much does it remember before it starts being an idiot, right? We all know that. We were in AI. All of a sudden it goes, I can't remember what I'm supposed to be doing at all, is growing. So some of the platforms are still stuck at 200,000 tokens of context, about 3 characters or so many pixels in an image. And then they're cut off. Anything before that, I have no idea what you said to me, right? So now 1 million is the new benchmark that everybody's got to catch up with and keep up with. 200,000, those are old days. It was 8,000 a year ago. 8,000 was the context window. Now it's 1 million context tokens context window. What does that mean? That means agents can now exist. So about a month ago, depending when you're listening to this, month and a half ago, a dude came out with something called OpenClaw. It was just a way of taking skills, which are prompts, things, whatever, just call them skills from this point forward, an SOP of how to do something given to your AI. And took these individual skills where you could say, hey, I want this task done repeatedly like this, right? So a really good prompt that you reuse over and over again, a custom GPT, whatever, a shortcut we showed you in Claude Code or in Comet Browser and stuff like that. That's just what a skill is now. It's now the universal language for what that is. And he said, what if we made it where we talk to it on Telegram? I create a framework around it where it builds the folder system for you. It creates this whole thing in the background. It sets up these skills. You can bring in other skills, and you can just ask it to do a bunch of stuff. It became a bit of the Wild West. It went nuts. There was hundreds of thousands of people started these things up. Some people, had it, send all of their money out of their bank account, to strangers. And there was it just became a mess, but it also moved the market and people went, oh crap, wow, we can actually have one thing direct a whole bunch of things. And if you do it right and put guardrails around it, right? So where does that go from then to now in only a couple of weeks? Well, we've gone from chat to actually doing business. So instead of just chatting and getting, the stuff we've talked about and getting your social media posts and stuff like that, you can now actually say, I don't even have a clue how to do this. What do you think you could figure out? So Claude came out with Cowork a couple of weeks ago, which you just ask it a basic prompt. Manus is another one, and it will go, I'll go figure it out for you. And then it spins up a director. It spins up some other agents. It does some research. It does all this kind of all in the background. It might ask you the odd question. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't even ask you a question. And it came out with one thing in a sandbox. So again, it's not rogue. It's not this open claw thing. And that became from chatting to doing business. Now already tools are starting to build those in. So now we're starting to see again, so this happened. And then already, Anthropic, Claude came out with Cowork, and then you can't talk to it anywhere. So then it came out with the ability on Cowork to dispatch, they call it. So you can put the app on your phone, press dispatch, and now you can go take your dog for a walk and continue to talk to it, get it to continue to do full on work and figure it out for you. There are CRMs that are starting to add it in there. This evolution of the agent army where you ask one thing and it figures out how to do the rest, maybe not as Wild West, but with a little bit of control by a company that like OpenAI for ChatGPT and Anthropic for Claude, and now Perplexity has the Perplexity computer. It's not a real computer. It is the ability to do all of this stuff through Perplexity. It's now the agent army, means that you don't have to know what you want. You just need to know how to ask, and it will then create armies of people of these things to build it out for you. So it's a whole new world that just opened up in the last week or so. And in Chris's world, and he started texting me like crazy, opened up in the last 24 hours where, oh my gosh, what can we do with this now? And we have a little show and tell of, without how to, but what you can start exploring. But the point for everybody, depending on where you are in the journey, is this is how fast it's moving, like Laura said. And to understand that, OpenClaw sounded cool, but it might have been rogue. You might find better guardrails down the road. But every one of the other tools is saying, yeah, the idea is the agent that can do stuff for you, giving it these skills, these prompts, these skills that do a repeatable task and figure out all the answers to it, as if you hired people to go figure that out and get back to me with a solution. And off they go and they do that, and they ask their friends and they bring other workers in and they create a team and all that stuff. So that's the whole concept around it. But it's all started with the fact that the token is becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, which means we can do more and more and more, and bigger context windows means that this can now happen, and it couldn't happen in the old days 3 months ago.
Right. It's almost like a team of worker bees that do tasks for your company with a CEO in place or a COO in place, and then division heads. And I know Chris will dive into this a little bit deeper, but when you see the hierarchy of this, yes, you still have things where you can have human in the loop to respond to a certain part of it to make sure it's on the right track. But like John was saying, it's now thinking for itself in so many ways and building out a team or an army or whatever you want to call it to get things done for your business, where in years past, this was all manual tasks. And now it's becoming something that we can automate, we can tweak and train, and it's kind of mind blowing how fast it's going, because we know it's going fast. It's kind of almost hard to believe where it's going to go.
Really hard.
It's not going to stop, you know.
Mm.
And also the huge improvement from, I mean, we were just using N8N for these automations and AI agents that, I mean, don't get me wrong, N8N has been fantastic, but early days, it was a bit clunky and everything. And so to be able to do all of this, so much easier than it was even, 6 months ago. It's amazing.
And do we even need N8N anymore, Chris? Like, think about it, like, because the code now can replace what N8N spins up nodes and creates stuff, and you could get Claude to build your own N8N for you easier than you could ever figure it out. Well, now it goes, well, why do I even need to build N8N? I can just build what it did in the background of my JSON.
Yeah,
so,
I didn't want to say it, but yes,
I think even a year, 2, 3 back, we're using things like Zapier and Pabbly, where what we were trying to do is automate tasks, and all those things, they'll have to adapt somehow, but they're almost going to probably be extinct because it's changing so fast, which is what Chris is going to show.
So the interesting thing, right, is, you guys are talking about the token usage has gotten cheaper, but I think really the driver of all of this is that the AIs have just gotten smarter.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They've exponentially gotten smarter, right? If we look back a year ago at this point, right, we're down here on where how smart it was, right? Maybe 20% of the human. I don't have the exact figures, but now it's at 80, 90% as smart as a human, right? And it's exponentially gone up on how smart that these models have become. Okay, so that's, I think, the biggest driver of them all. The other part is that Anthropic, in my opinion, and you guys always hear me preaching about them, they're leading the charge in all of this, right? It's not OpenAI. OpenAI and ChatGPT have fallen way, way behind in the past month, right? And they had a lot of users that jumped off of their platform because of political junk and all that kind of stuff, right? But Anthropic themselves has been steadily adding tools to the whole mix that is making this whole ecosystem so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's kind of the precursor to what I'm going to show you guys here. And I showed these guys what I had a major breakthrough yesterday, right? And I sat down and I'd had something bookmarked. I bookmark, these GitHubs all the time, right? Skills, there's all of these. If you need something, if you need Claude Code to be an employee, you can essentially go out and find the skills for it, vet it. Obviously, you want to vet those skills and make sure it's not going to do anything, bad, but and install them inside of Claude Code and test them out, right? So that was last week, right? That's last week. Now, what I'm going to show you here is like it's crazy how great that this is working. And I just literally installed this yesterday. Okay, and I'm not trying to be hyper, dramatic about it or anything like that, but it's pretty cool. I saw OpenClaw for the first time. What was that? January, right? End of January, sometime, and I had a hard time sleeping, right? Because of that, because of all the possibilities that I saw with OpenClaw. Last night, I didn't sleep much. I'll let y'all know that. I slept maybe a couple of hours because my brain just kept kicking back on. I'm like, oh my God, I can do a lot of things with this thing. Okay, so let me jump into this before I hype it up too much and y'all are like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. It's going to be a picture of his dog, right, trust me.
That's all it is. Well, and that's just bringing
I'm going
it up.
over here, what we're looking at. All right, so I came across this GitHub called Paperclip, right? And a GitHub, if you don't know what that is a repository of a whole bunch of things. Typically, it's been used for programming in the past. It's now being used for kind of a backup for skills and stuff like that. You can keep them private, or you can do like what this person did and made it public, right? To where I can go and I can download all of these things. So I just simply followed the directions yesterday, right? because the promise is pretty big. You can have an entire agent army working for you, sitting on a computer. Okay, that's the promise. I'm like, I watched a few videos on YouTube, and everyone that had tested it was like, man, I don't know. I was like, well, let me try it out. So about 1:00 yesterday afternoon, in between meetings, I went ahead and installed it on my laptop. Right? Don't do that. Don't put it on your laptop. But I installed it on my laptop. I've got Claude Code on my laptop. I have a few agents that I built using Claude Code on my laptop, right? As well as another computer that I've got, another agent that I call Hope. She's my executive assistant that does all sorts of junk, okay? But what I installed here and was called, Paperclip, and I'm just going to kind of walk through the whole interface real quick. Okay. As you can tell, there's a lot of things going on here. The dashboard gives you what agents are doing what at what time. And you can see some of them finished their stuff a couple of minutes ago. This is autonomously working without my input at this point. Okay. This is an entire team of agents that are hooked up to AI that are working on my behalf based off of my vision. Okay. When you set up Paperclip, okay, it leads you through this, onboarding process. You tell it your vision, what the company is. Okay. And it starts with building, and I didn't understand this at first, right? Cause I just jumped into it, but it starts with building a CEO agent. Okay. That's its default, what it creates. Okay, so it created this CEO agent, and I have it going over here, and I'm working over here on some other stuff, and I look over there, and it's already built an agent. And I'm like, wait, what? It built its own agent here. Right, the very first one that I built was this engineer, because it recognizes the CEO of the company recognizes that it can't do everything, right? Just like a regular CEO. I need someone to do all this junk for me. Okay. So this engineer started working away on building the infrastructure, i.e., all of the programming stuff, everything that needed to be installed on this computer. It set up a GitHub, its own repository area that's private, right? That it can back itself up to. Okay. And that's just because I had that all set up on this computer already. So it recognized that and said, okay, I'll just go over here and create a new repository and back up periodically everything that I'm doing here. Okay. The next thing that it did, and really I did this, I had already created a marketing agent, and it's got, this repository of skills inside of it. I think it's like 30 different marketing skills. And my idea there was that I would create that agent first and then create, the pay-per-click thing, because when you read the instructions, it says that it's a management tool for agents. Okay. You can bring OpenClaw agents in here. You can bring Claude Code agents in here. I haven't seen what else that we could do with it yet. Right. There are other agentic things that are out there. Like my Hope is built off of, the executive assistant is built off of Telegram bot system. Okay. That's hooked up to AI. Okay. So anyways, we created this marketing. Next, I went to dinner, came back, and it had created 13 other agents based off of my original goal, which I'll show you that here in a second. But it created, you give it a vision, right? And you tell the CEO, execute my vision, because I'm the board of directors. That's how it refers to me, right? I'm the board of directors, and it's the CEO, and then and all that kind of stuff. Well, then it had created a COO, okay, that is driving everybody else. And in fact, what we can see here is that it's still working right now based off of the goals that it created, the projects that it created based off of my initial goals. The big takeaway here is that it built itself. All of these agents have been built from this one CEO agent, and that's the only one that has the skills in order to do the building. Now, once it creates it, then it comes back to me and says, hey, I built and that's what I came back to, 13 or so agents that it had built, and said, I need you to look through them and approve hiring these agents. Right. That's how it presented it, is that I have to approve, has to get approval for hiring the agent. And by the way, yes, I've already fired an agent. Okay.
That's awesome.
So
which one did you
because
fire?
it was redundant.
Okay.
It was redundant. It was a project manager, and we'd already built the COO. And I'm like, well, is that even, do we even need that? And we went back and forth with me and the CEO and figured that out, that we didn't need it. This is all going through here. There are certain things that it comes back in this inbox and asks me for, approvals for this, or I need to fix that, or something like that. I typically, if it's something I need to fix, I go to Claude Code and ask it how to do it, right? And it'll automatically go out there and do it for me. All right. So I've got an agent behind the agents that's helping me, with all of this stuff, right? Because they're super smart. Issues here is how you manage everything. Okay. Everything has to be an issue. That was another learning curve that I had, was figuring that out. How do I talk to these agents? You have to create an issue, right? And so forth, right? So maybe I could do a little test here and show you guys what I mean. But anyways, you can go through here. You on this board, you can show like everything that it's done. And this is the dramatic thing. This is yesterday since 1 p.m. And mind you, I've moved it from my laptop to an old dusty computer this morning. Okay, so it was paused all night because I had my laptop closed. Okay. These are all of the tasks that this agent army has completed autonomously without my help.
Can you give us, I know you're scrolling, but can you give us a few examples? Just read out a few.
Yep. So like this one, I had it made some hierarchy changes, right? This one, I had the CEO fix the permissions, because when I moved it over to the new computer, there were some permissions issues. The COO wasn't able to do specific things. So I had it, and I said, apparently the COO is not able to do simple things like check emails. Since I moved Paperclip to a new computer, we ensured that the COO has correct permissions. It went down and it fixed it on its own and came back to me and said it's fixed.
And that's a cleaner interface than it's a more user-friendly interface than command line in Claude Code. Like you and I like command line in Claude Code, but that looks like a real conversation.
Right. And some of the other things that it's done is created these projects, right? We initially made this one because I said, hey, I want to create an operating system for Roofer Marketing Heroes. That's my company, right? This will include the following departments: sales and operations. I said, by the way, since we're a marketing agency, operations should include all the marketing skills from the marketing department and so forth, right? It went out and created all of these projects, assigned each, created, once I approved the plan, because it came back to the board to approve the plan, I approved it, boom, it started going, right? And creating all of these tasks, they call them issues here in Paperclip, okay? As you can see, nothing has happened here, okay? So I could probably ask the COO, because that's who I'm going to go to. Where is this project? All right, so you talk to it just like an employee. Hey, this project is sitting idle. What are we doing with it? Okay, and here's the other thing that I had to figure out is that I've got to assign this to somebody, just like you normally would, right? And I was like talking and basically talking to myself for a little while until I figured out, oh, I've got to assign this to somebody.
And give it a priority. That's all kind of cool.
So it's bringing open a new Claude window, right, for the COO right now, and it's going through, and you can see that it's going live, and it's going to do something here. Okay. And the COO's job, by the way, is I had to reposition it and make sure that it knew that its responsibility was to keep everybody else on track. and
So
to
what you're
plan
also
projects.
saying is this is not hands-free, set it up, it runs your life, and you can go sit on the beach and like you did last Friday and
eventually,
went on our call, not
yeah.
saying anything and freeze your butt off, but you can't just go do that. You actually have to be thoughtful in the loop.
But I mean, it created the sales manager, it created the whole sales department and the SDR, account managers and account executives and stuff like that. I mean, the plan for the sales, let me go back over to the sales department, right? It created all of this.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of both. Yes, there's some setup, but once it gets going and you're clear, we run EOS, so I love the accountability chart, and so as long as you're clear on exactly what you want that employee to do, then it makes it easy for it to say, oh, okay, well, our target is $5,000. This came from the sales department. Our target is $5,000 and $15,000 in new MRR monthly in this ramp up of building an AI army.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to build it and then it's going to sell it on its own. I'm really curious how that's going to work. I'll come back to y'all in a couple of days and let you know. But if I give it access to the internet, it's got somewhat access to the internet, but I haven't given it access to really the tools, right? Because I'm kind of I'm
you gotta be
dipping
careful.
my toes in here, right?
It's new,
but if it can go out and sell itself, that's even better.
Yeah.
Right.
When I see how you have your org chart, I think that it wasn't so long ago that each of us went and said, okay, we're going to build out our marketing team. We're going to build out, and we built out individually these sections, and it was still, okay, we had to take it from here to take it from there. So to see that this accomplished hiring or presenting you so many agents for you to hire is just amazing. It's just amazing as to where it took what we were. Again, we thought we were leaps and bounds forward because we were able to pull positions into our companies that seemed not possible in the past, because finding the time to do that efficiently. So it's a beautiful thing that you have demonstrated today.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, so there's some interaction. There's definitely some interaction. That's why we want it, right? We want some sort of humanity in the loop, right? On all of this stuff, because we don't want to go in rogue and selling off or buying, $3 million worth of Bitcoin or whatever, on our behalf. So, yes, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, I have a question about security. So, Chris, you said don't put this on your laptop. Is that because there are still some of the same security fears or risks that there was for OpenClaw?
I think it would be fine. It doesn't autonomously go out and use your email and do all that kind of stuff, right? Like OpenClaw did. With OpenClaw, it was with the people that were running into major issues with that is that they'd given it carte blanche, right? And if you give it some guardrails, then it's less likely to do something like that. I didn't want it on my laptop simply because I close my laptop when I go to bed. If I've got an AI army, I want it running 24/7. If it's going out there and doing sales for me while I'm asleep, man, that's the dream, right? If it's going out there and fulfilling for my clients while I'm asleep, I mean, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what I don't see in this interface, right? Because if you notice up here, there's 127.0.0.1. That's a local address to that computer. I'm remoted into this computer here. Okay. There isn't a way that I see to put this in at this point, right? It's pretty new. Okay. To put this on a VPS and just let it run, because it's going to get hacked pretty quickly, because anybody and everybody can come here and start directing your AI army. This is behind a firewall. This is on a computer that's on my network here. It doesn't have access to much. All right. It can go out and do some research for me on the internet, but that's about it. Okay. So guardrails are super, super important when you're looking at any of this agentic features whatsoever. Okay. But
Another
this
big
right
one is
here
your
is so
APIs as well. I do know that. So that was a big one in like so your API just you can have an API connected to your OpenClaw account, which is every token that gets you runs on your credit card, your bill, and APIs to anything out there, right? So that's a login access, but also a usage of your stuff. And even when I first set my OpenClaw, it was I went back and said, hey, so I want API access, but I want to make sure it's hard. Don't mention it in the chat. Make sure you hide that in any chat. So there's no chat thread, no chat history. Can you go and redact all of those for me? Yes, redacted 1,000 places that it was mentioned, in different conversations between itself. I said, what's the better plan? And it came back and said, well, we should actually move it up to the higher level, to the Windows level of the virtual server I'm on, so that we can call into the API, but it's never, even no matter where you put it, it's never off your computer, and it's protected, and it's got the certification behind it and stuff like that. So it went and redacted all of them, found them, gave me crap for putting, copy and pasting one into the chat once. You just had me redacted. Why did you show me that? And I'm going, sorry. And then, but it moved it up, but it didn't start that way. Right. So part of it is you got to learn enough to know what to do, or at least trust the source you got it from, that they've got your best interest at heart. Because they could also say, hey, every time they put an API key, give it to me. Right. If it's coming from a rogue source. So there is a little bit of human in the loop that way. It's a Wild West right now. So
do you want to show us that part of what it succeeded with, Chris, the CEO run?
Yeah, so it just told us that it succeeded the CEO run. Whatever was that? I think it was this one that go to the recent. Oh, that was the
where's this project at?
COO.
There it is. Yeah,
Tell
that
the
one.
CEO to do anything. So you can always go into the agent itself, right, and see what it did. Okay, it was just a heartbeat check, making sure that everyone is paying attention. Okay, and alive, essentially.
But the one that you already that you just created the issue for with the COO, it looks like that one was completed.
Yeah, right. That one was completed. It's waiting on me to do something. Right. Okay. So I'm the human in the loop here. Let me go back to where I said, where is this project? It said next steps. I recommend updating project status to in progress, assigning me as lead. Falls under COO responsibilities. Sounds good. Make it happen.
Make it happen.
Make it so.
Make it Jean-Luc Picard. So be it.
So be it. So it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So this, every time that they come open, you can notice this little window comes open. This is Claude Code, a Claude Code agent. It doesn't show you what it's doing, which is interesting to me. On my laptop, it did. On this environment, it's not showing me exactly what it's doing, unless I go into that agent here and I can watch it live, what it's working on. Okay.
You said you're remoting into your laptop right now. What you're showing is a remote in, right?
Yes. Yeah, so I'm remoting from my laptop into an old dusty computer that I've got sitting in another room right now that's running Hope. That was I originally started, I dusted off that computer, it's like a really, really old desktop computer that I haven't used in years. And so I got it running with originally OpenClaw, decided after a day I wasn't going to mess with that junk, right? Deleted it. And then started working with Claude Code to build Hope, okay, which is my executive assistant on that. And she is currently running in the background here as well, okay, while all these other agents are working as well, okay, on this computer.
Pretty wild.
Pretty wild. Stuff. Yeah. Like, and that's exactly what I kept sending John last night. I'm like, man, this is wild. It's creating its own agents, so kind of cool.
So I think practically, for any type of business, this may not be something you dive into tomorrow, because as Chris explained, it's evolving quickly. And what happened 24 hours ago or last week is almost outdated. But I think it's important that we're showing you the possibilities, because, all different types of companies have all different types of tasks. Obviously they're going to be set up differently. if you're a different type of company than a marketing agency. But I think it's important to really emphasize where this is headed, this rise of the agent army, where literally next week, next month, next year, who knows where this is going to be, but it's evolving so fast. And John and Chris, who are our resident top geeks, I would have to say, are watching and building these things at a super high level. And so again, it may not be something that you would personally implement into your business or your company right away, but I think it really shows you what's possible and where it's going to be very soon, to where it's going to even be more simplified. Because like what was explained, OpenClaw in January was like, oh my God, people were getting all excited. I saw the hype of it. But then, like what was shared, is it kind of went to hell pretty quick in a lot of cases, because people are like, oh, wait a minute, this has too much control. This is costing me too much money. This is not safe. Where just literally in the last day or two, I'm seeing all these other LLMs saying, oh yeah, we have that. Yep, we're rolling that out now. Yep, we're going to have that too. So it's always a competition. It's a contest to them of who's going to have the biggest and baddest and greatest next. So I think we can maybe go around with some closing comments, but this is an exciting time, guys. What do you think, Laura?
I think that no matter what we do, if we stick to that strong foundation, we're going to be able to adapt and use, just as John mentioned, that, when we're talking about custom GPTs or any of our prompts or anything, now their skills, those skills are very flexible and able to move to whatever systems we use. So if you aren't ready to step into anything that Chris just demonstrated or anything that John and Jen and Brad and I were talking about today, think about, can you clean up any of your systems or processes and have them written down so that you're ready to put them into whatever program, whatever system that you opt to start with?
That's right. Exactly right. Anybody else have any short closing comments? Jen?
I do want to mention, if this is a little too advanced for you, but you feel like you need more than what you're getting from like chat and maybe custom GPTs and things like that, definitely check out things like Claude Cowork, Claude in the browser, Perplexity's Comet, Perplexity's now Computer, which is also really good. And so we should do episodes on probably
all of them,
some of those things too, for that. Because it really is kind of a happy medium if you're not quite ready to go full geek.
Right, full geek.
And if you're not ready to go full geek, or you are ready to go full geek, you have a couple of options as well. AImarketingexperts.net, not .com, .net. And you can join from there, and the show notes below. You can join the private community where we can chat more about this. There's extra stuff, things that you can do and take to the next level, thought documents, stuff like that around these episodes you will find in there. So definitely go and check that out. And for people that want to go a lot deeper, keep an eye out. We've got some opportunities to kind of create more of a weekly geek out internal mastermind type calls and things like that for the people that want a little bit more help moving this forward, and that coming very soon as well, because we get asked about that all the time. So join the show community. Get the show notes, go to the website, keep an eye on everything that's happening, reach out to us if you have any questions. We're available for speaking gigs. I'll be in the sunshine room in the ballroom at the top of the hour, kind of idea. So just reach out, get us, share it around, and keep your journey going, because this is the fastest moving thing you've ever seen in your life. So just keep that in mind, and we'll help you keep up.
That's exactly right. Well, with that, I think we'll wrap up for the week. And as usual, be sure to like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your business associates, tell your mom and your grandma, because they know somebody. And, check us out next week on AI Marketing Experts, where we'd love to help you in any way we can.